In the 70 years after their independence, India achieved a spectacular progress from a mere supplier of raw materials for British industry to an advanced industrial nation with its space program, high-tech sector, and nuclear weapons. While many other former European colonies remained locked in an unequal economic relationship with their former metropoles, India was able to become a strong economic power. Its success was at least partially due to its economic cooperation with one superpower that pushed a very strong anti-colonialist agenda in its foreign policy, the Soviet Union.
Hello, my name is Ernest Saiti, and I'm a senior at Clements High School in Sugar Land, Texas. For the past few months, I have been working with Professor Alexei Golubev from the University of Houston on an independent research project. My research is about the economic and political partnership between Russia and India that began more than 70 years ago after India became an independent nation from British rule. It answers questions about how India went from a de-industrialized colonial state to becoming the second largest steel producer in the world. Furthermore, you will see the widespread implications this partnership has had on today's global landscape. Before we begin, I will start by giving some historical context at the time. On August 15, 1947, India won its independence from the British and was now a new nation with a large population, trying quickly to become more and more powerful. To add to the situation, they were thrown into the midst of the Cold War as countries all over the world picked whether to side with the United States or the Soviet Union. India, instead of siding with one or the other, formally joined, and some may even say led, the non-aligned movement. Soon after, the Soviet Union realized that India could be an important ally based on its resources, size, and growing influence to gain a foothold in South Asia, especially since the United States was growing closer to Pakistan. To get around the non-aligned movement and avoid partnering politically, the Soviet Union collaborated with and invested in India's economy, most importantly, its steel industry. This marked the beginning of a new era of Indo-Soviet relations. This new era was marked by some key events, which I will now discuss in greater detail. Firstly, a few years after India joined the non-aligned movement, Joseph Stalin, the leader of the USSR, passed away in 1953. This led to a different type of Indo-Soviet relations. Within the next 2 years, Prime Minister Nehru and First Secretary Khrushchev exchanged state visits, indicating the relationship between the two nations was becoming more than just exchanging courtesies. Then, in 1955, came the first steel agreement, in which the two sides brokered the creation of the large Bhilai steel plant. 10 years later, the two nations agreed to build another steel plant, the Iron and Steel Works of Bokaro. The Soviet Union now helped build the two largest steel plants at the time, but their partnership didn't stop there. In 1966, an economic and technical engineering cooperation treaty was signed between India and the USSR. This treaty ensured that the Soviet Union will be able to aid in future projects despite India growing more and more technologically independent. These three agreements solidified the economic ties between the two nations, but still, they didn't stop there. Despite the non-aligned movement, India and the Soviet Union signed the Indo-Soviet Treaty on Peace, Friendship, and Cooperation, mainly to combat rising regional tensions from Pakistan, who were backed by America and China. Since then, the Soviet Union has aided in more than 3 other steel plants. Now I will discuss a specific steel plant on which the two worked together to see how effective and powerful their partnership truly was. Let's discuss the Bhilai steel plant. To this day, it is one of the largest and most productive steel plants in all of India. But the Indian government and its engineers couldn't do it themselves. In 1955, soon after Prime Minister Nehru visited the steel capital of the Soviet Union in Magnitogorsk, the two signed a deal to make Bhilai, a city in the resource-rich state of Chhattisgarh, the site of their ambitious venture. The Soviet Union then went on to provide a laundry list of assistance by working with their state-owned design companies to architect the plant, giving top-notch technology through their sintering plants and oxygen injection lances, and supported expansive training programs to Indian scientists. After the completion of the first furnace, there have been multiple expansions as recent as 2018, which is still ongoing. When they are finished, the plant will have the capacity to produce 7 million tons of steel annually and is the largest contributor of profits to the Steel Authority of India's 5 plants. This one case study reveals how effective each plant was, and when you combine all the plants they collaborated on together, the scope of Soviet assistance was enormous in leading to a truly more industrialized India. Though economic partnerships are common across the world, the one formed between the Soviet Union and India was one of a kind. First and foremost, India is now the second largest steel producer in the world, with more than 1,500 plants, and will soon become the second largest consumer of steel. At the same time, the Soviet Union has continued to profit off this extraordinary growth, as many of the contracts for design, resources, and capital have gone to state-owned companies, even today. But though this partnership is rooted in steel and economics, it runs much deeper. In essence, this partnership was the beginning of a political alliance as well. Though India didn't commit to the socialist bloc at the time, this was the spark in their relationship. After steel, they signed treaty after treaty, bringing them closer. First came one of economic cooperation. Then came one for regional security and strategy. Then came many, in which the Soviet Union became one of India's largest supplier of arms. All the while, steel plant after steel plant popped up in India. And the sheer strength of this partnership is more evident now than ever before, as the two nations attend exclusive annual summits together to discuss political and economic conditions. And in 2010, the decade of declaration on strategic partnership between the two began. Moreover, with the election of fellow nationalist Narendra Modi, the two heads of state are considered good friends. So much so that Mr. Putin awarded Mr. Modi the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, the highest state decoration of Russia. Furthermore, Putin showed Russia's support by siding with India on the Kashmir issue and pushed for India to become a part of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Currently, the two are leading the BRICS Council in a war against President Trump's quotas on steel and platform of American protectionism, and continue to influence their power in other parts of the world, from Kashmir to Syria to Latin America. Beginning with one investment into the steel sector, India and Russia now exert a powerful global force, one that continues to influence global economics and politics around the world. That concludes my presentation, but if you would like to access my full academic poster or my full research document, which includes another case study and many more details, I've attached both of the links in the comments section. Thanks for watching.